So we conducted a longline survey, and here's just a picture of Diego, my advisor, and my lab partner putting out and prepping our hooks to go out on the main line. Now, we did have a slight gear modification in that on our hooks we used a hook timer. And basically how these works is when a shark takes the bait, it'll start wriggling a little bit, and it'll pop the timer out, and so this starts recording. And so when we bring up the sharks, we know how long each individual shark was on the line for. So we'd bring up our sharks, put on the PSAT tags, and release them, and see what we could see. So one main goal of this project was to try to identify time thresholds at which we start seeing higher incidences of mortality from these sharks. And so we knew from previous work, a lot of work that Lisa's done on her longline cruises, that there's this threshold time of about 3 hours where you start seeing a higher incidence of mortality, specifically with the dusky shark. So just to share that bit of data with you, for sharks that were caught on, for 1 second, explain this figure right here. So this is how we determine if the sharks died. So basically when sharks die, they sink and they sit on the bottom. And so this is a classic sort of death profile where the shark is released, it goes down to the bottom, it sits, and then after a certain amount of time, the tag will pop off the shark and start transmitting the data. So, so just some preliminary data here. For sandbar sharks that are caught on the line for greater than 3 hours, we found 18% of at-vessel mortality plus moribund level. So moribund is a fish that is close to death. Those individuals that were released, we saw 29% post-release mortality, with a combined 47% overall mortality for the sandbar shark when they were caught on the line for greater than 3 hours. For the dusky shark, the situation is a little bit more dire. The at-vessel mortality and moribund rate was 53%. And I'm sorry, at-vessel is when the shark is brought to the boat initially, before we tag and release it. The post-release mortality is 42%, with an overwhelming 95% overall mortality for dusky sharks when they're caught on the line for greater than 3 hours. So obviously this is a situation that now we can share this information with fisheries managers to try to perhaps remedy the situation and, you know, help create and sustain a fishery. Okay, so we have this hook time information, which is basically from the hook timers, but how does that carry over into management? You know, you're going to manage by possibly augmenting soak time. So this is just a graph showing the correlation of hook time that the sharks were on the line and the soak time, which is the amount of time that each set was in the water for. So the straight line there shows the correlation, and we were really happy to find a really nice strong correlation indicating that our hook time information was representative of the soak time. And so we can share this information, and for example, if we wanted to target that 3-hour limit, if we were to reduce soak times to 3 hours on the long line, we could perhaps have a 46% mortality reduction in sandbars and a 60% mortality reduction in duskies. So this is just an example of how we can use these tags and this technology to help with fisheries management. And we consider this project to be rather timely, as the dusky shark is currently being considered for the Endangered Species Act.